Is there any cure for this? I mean, basically you're saying that we've all got this substance inside us. Most of us have the ability for our body to process it in such a way that this substance emerges and it doesn't smell. It's oxidised. Your body can't do that. No. Has the medical profession not worked out some way of giving you a drug or changing the way your body works in order that you can function in the same way that the rest of us do?
There is no cure, but there is treatment, and the treatment is obviously eat a minimum amount of choline, and some foods even have trimethylamine in them, so to keep your diet very strict. And on top of that, I take odour absorbing tablets, various different things. There's lots on the market, and I pay for them though. We have to buy them ourselves. On top of that, I can take an antibiotic once every 8 weeks. I can take it for 2 weeks, and after the 2 weeks I start taking probiotics or prebiotics, one of them two, and that restores the good bacteria. The antibiotics kill off the bad bacteria, and for about 3 weeks I'm not too bad.
What about the foods? You mentioned that the foods play a big part in this, and that some foods have got a high choline content and some contain other elements that aren't helpful as well. What are the ones that you have to avoid? Is it a big list?
It is a big list, but the big ones are eggs. The old thing, go to work on an egg's probably true, because it is brain food. Lots of meats, lots of beans, peas, offal, can't touch any offal. Seafood, which is a favourite. I mean, I used to love eggs, I used to love seafood, and I used to love peanuts. Oh yeah, peanuts, that's another one. It's a weird selection, really. There's just loads of them. Well,
I mean, it's not a weird selection. You've just named about just all the key parts of my diet there. I can eat a bag of peanuts in a matter of seconds. I eat lots of eggs, lots of seafood, lots of meat. I was told as well that you've got difficulties with some vegetables.
Yeah, lots.
So you can't just say, well, I'll eat a vegetarian diet then and avoid all these protein-rich things like eggs and meat and seafood and stuff like that.
No, can't eat brassicas. It's peculiar. I just have to keep looking at the list to try and make a meal.
What do you eat then?
I eat a lot of rice.
Rice is good, is it?
Yeah, well, it seems to be. I used to eat a lot of potatoes, but I noticed I kept getting bad days, and then when I worked it out, 100 grams of potato is okay, but like I've been trying to explain to some others, if I eat 500 grams, then it becomes very bad.
So you're watching what you eat all the time. That sort of puts an extra pressure on you. Have you tried, I mean, lots of people these days are great believers in alternative therapies of one sort or another.
Yeah, I've tried that.
What have you tried?
I've tried several. I tried hypnosis. I tried...
Go on, tell us about hypnosis. What happened there?
Well, what didn't happen?
All right.
It was a lovely feeling. I mean, you don't really go out. You just sort of go into a relaxed state. But afterwards, it didn't help this. It certainly made me feel good, but it didn't do this. And
what about sort of homeopathic remedies? There are lots of people who believe that by taking these dilutions of particular things, that can be a huge help. Have you been down that route too?
I have, yep. A lady locally, and I stuck to everything exactly as she said it. Did it exactly, but no, nothing at all.
Does it matter to you about how influential is your personal hygiene routine? I sort of imagine that somebody who faces this problem that you have, that many of us would turn into compulsive washers, that you would want to sort of be showering 10 times a day.
Well, strangely, I was very clean before this. I was a bit hyper about, being dirty anyway, but what I did then is now nothing to this. I have a bath every single morning, and I have a bath every single night, without fail. In the bath, I use an emollient because I can't use soap, because it makes it worse. I use a deodorant in the evening before I go to bed, which is very strong. An antiperspirant, sorry. and I wash this off in the morning. Then, once I've had my bath, I reapply another strong one that you can wear during the day, which I do again after the bath in the evening. I put on clean socks and pants and everything else apart from my jeans every day, plus the fact I do that again when I come home, so I put clean ones on. A lot of washing for my wife, but I do everything, you know. I wear so many different... my clothing has silver fibre sewn into it, which absorbs odour. That's very expensive. I have insoles in my every pair of shoes, and they're expensive. I mean, I could go on. I do everything.
And none of it, well, it obviously must make some difference, but none of it makes enough difference to deal with the problem thoroughly.
Do you know, I don't know whether it makes any difference. It makes me feel better.
Good. Gary, stay there. We'll be back with you in a moment or two's time. Talking to Gary Laker from Hampswaite, who suffers from this extraordinary condition, which is extremely rare. I've only ever heard about it on a couple of previous occasions. That, well, he used the word, it means that he smells like rotting fish, or dead fish, or like garbage. As he said, some people have described it to him. We'll be back with him for a moment or two longer after we've done this.
BBC Radio York Travel.
We'll get an update on the state of the roads of the county. Is it Helen who's with us now?
It is, yes. Thank you very much, Royce.
It's 27 minutes past 10. My special guest on the programme, speaking to us from his home just outside Harrogate, is Gary Laker, a man who suffers from an extraordinary condition. Would you just try and say it for me again? I'm determined that by the time I finish speaking to you, at least I ought to be able to say it. Give it another go, would you?
Yep, it's trimethyl.
Hang on, methyl, yeah.
Amine.
Yeah.
Urea.
Okay. Trimethylaminuria.
That's it.
How many other people have you met who've got the same condition as you? Because these days, people with difficult medical conditions, rare medical conditions, tend to form groups or societies and get together. How many other folks do you know who suffer like you do?
There's a help site, TMAU.org.uk, and a lot of people are on there. But, well, I say not a lot. I think there's about 100 people, but the ones that are in England, I don't know.
All right, so they're mainly people overseas, are they?
Well, I don't know. I've actually asked them where they all from, and people are slowly putting it on. And I've got about 10 that have given where they are in England.
Would you find it helpful if you had maybe a more supportive network and you could exchange tips and advice with other sufferers?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. The only person I've ever heard about with this before lived in Wales, lived in Swansea or Glamorgan or Carmarthen or something like that, and I've been, ever since I knew you were coming on the show for the past couple of days, I've been searching frantically to try and find where that person is. So I have heard about one person who suffers in the same way as you do before now. What's it done to your personal relationships? You say you broke up with your first wife, but that didn't have anything to do, I gather, with this condition. What about your present partner? Is she, as you say, she's got an awful lot of washing to do, and she's got to think very carefully before she cooks you a meal. It's rice, and would you like a bit more rice, Gary? What has it done to your relationship with her?
Well, we've got a good relationship. To be honest, I should point out she eats exactly the same as me.
Good woman.
Yeah.
So she's not sitting there stuffing her face with all your favourite things and torturing you.
No, you've got it. No.
And it can't be easy for her.
No, I wouldn't imagine it is. I mean, she stays in. You know, we share our lives exactly the same. She's not out all the time saying, I'm all right. No, we have a good relationship, thank goodness.
Is it quite intense, that the fact that you can't go out, or you feel very, very uncomfortable when you do go out? Do you feel hemmed in?
Oh, yeah. I used to go, I mean, some weeks every night, but at least 5 times a week I would be out at restaurants, pubs, clubs, you name it. I used to just sometimes, Friday night, I'd book a hotel, sometimes even in Harrogate, and we'd go and stay there for the weekend just for a bit of fun, you know.
None of that's possible to you now?
No.
What about work? We haven't talked about your work. Are you able to carry on? You talked about first realising the problem existed when a workmate picked you up to take you in his car. Yeah,
well, I work on building sites mainly, and even if I'm in people's houses, it's, they're dirt. It's dirt, not dirty houses, and my dirt, you know what I mean? I make a little mess. I'm an electrician, so because of that, I feel I'm in a dirty environment, and I'm a little bit more acceptable with it. I can't explain. I don't know myself, really.
I can tell by the way you speak about it that it's a tremendously complex thing, even for you.
Yeah.
Have you been given any hope? I mean, this thing arrived overnight by the sound of it, and when people suddenly started to notice it, is there any chance that it will go away of its own accord?
I don't think so. They've never said so, no. I think I've got it for life now.
You're a remarkably cheerful man. I'd expected to speak to someone this morning who sounded quite down and quite depressed about all this. I mean, can you get down and depressed about it, or are you always as cheerful as you seem to be on the show this morning?
I think I'm better since it being diagnosed, because now it's real. I'm not an idiot. I'm no longer a freak. It's just somebody who's got an illness.
Do you know if there's anybody working to cure the disease? Because obviously it's very rare, extremely rare, but there are obviously people in this country and around the world who are suffering from it too. Is anybody... We know that there are research grants for this, that and the other. There's all sorts of medical investigation going on. Is anybody working to try and find a cure?
I don't think there is. I think they sort of mentioned in a roundabout way that not in my lifetime they won't be bothering.
Well, it sounds like you're making a good job of getting on with your life as best you can. I admire you for that. Gary, thank you very much indeed for talking to us on BBC Radio York this morning, and maybe people who encounter you or encounter other people with, here I go, Trimethylaminuria.
Excellent.
In the future, thank you. Maybe they'll be a wee bit more understanding. Thanks for talking to us on the show.
Thanks very much, Jonathan.
Cheers now, good to speak to you. That's Gary Laker speaking to us from his home in Hamswaite. I hadn't spoken to Gary before he came live on air today, and I had expected someone who sounded a bit down, a bit withdrawn. He doesn't sound like that to me. He sounds like he's making the best of a very, very difficult situation. If you've got some comments on what Gary's had to say, maybe you've encountered him, or maybe you've encountered someone else who suffers from this condition, and I'm going to risk saying it again, trimethylaminuria, in the past, maybe you'll give me a call on 01904 641 641, or perhaps drop me an email to phone.in@bbc.co.uk. But we thank Gary Laker for appearing on the programme today. The time now is 10:33.